I'm not the only one who has ever used this prayer as the foundation of their prayer life, but I invite you to think about that. The Lord's Prayer, and one phrase in the prayer that summarizes our relationship with God. Your will be done. No matter what we ask of the Lord, no matter what conditions of our mind and heart when we come before the Lord in prayer, no matter the issues, world hunger, the pandemic, civil distress, family harmony, no matter what the issues, if we pray every one of these intentions prefaced by the Lord's own words, your will be done, we are acknowledging our relationship with God. We, his people, he, the Creator. We follow his word and given to us by Jesus. Now, look at the other readings from today, the prophet Isaiah and Psalm 34, how they reflect that idea, your will be done. Isaiah gives us that beautiful poetic reading that God says, my words go forth from my mouth like water fertilizes the earth, and they come back to me. So when we are praying, we are using God's own words, placing ourselves before him, and when we preface our prayers with your will be done, they go back to God. All prayer goes to God, but specifically that phrase given to us by Jesus, I think, is so powerful and simple, and powerful and simple and challenging. Challenging to believe that when we pray, we're putting ourselves in the presence of God, and that we say to him, not like a short order cook, I would like this, 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 and this on the side. No, we're praying, you serve me what you will. Very different. That'll never happen in a restaurant, the normal restaurant. There are places that do have that. But we're talking about prayer and God. Coming before him and saying, no matter what the intentions are, he knows your mind, he knows your heart. Jesus says that. Before we open our minds, before we open our hearts and tell God what we want, the Father knows. And if we have the trust, that's why it's difficult, to trust and say, your will be done, and God, here are my issues, we stop worrying about them. We've given permission to stop worrying about them. Whether it's unemployment, or job security, or health. If we know in the whole picture God's will is done, then what will happen according to God's plan, and we can be part of that accomplishment. That's prayer. That's true prayer. Placing ourselves in the presence of God and trusting him. Listen to what the psalmist says, 34, that we recited today. From all their distress, God rescues the just. So whatever you ask for, whatever we ask for, God listens to. And in our distress for those prayers that are challenging in our lives, disharmony, bickering, greed, evil, puts us in distress. And when we pray, your will be done, he hears our distress and rescues us from the distress. The psalm again, when the just cry out, the Lord hears them. God actually hears us. Sometimes when we want to communicate with a friend or a family member, we might use the traditional, really traditional pen and ink and write a letter or a postcard. More likely in the 21st century, we tweet, we text, email, so many ways in which we can communicate. But nothing is more simple to communicate with God from our prayer, from our hearts, from our mind. He doesn't need any between us. He doesn't need ink. He doesn't need computers. He doesn't need Wi-Fi. He just needs trust, our trust. So when we pray and we say, "Your will be done," wow, that's a magnificent leap of trust. But it's challenging, isn't it? I want what I want when I want it, right? That's the human way. And we're almost giving God an order. I'd like this, 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 and this. I'd like you to fix this, 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 and this. And I could just see God in an anthropomorphic way smiling down at us and say, "You silly, silly person. Make all the plans you want. Make all the requests you want. I have the final word." And he does. Even in his son Jesus, he had the final word. Think of what Jesus went through, especially the passion, the last days of his life. How he had to trust God, that he was doing what was God's will. It looked so bad, it looked so wrong. What were his closing words? "Into your hands I commend my spirit." Basically, your will be done. So today, as we continue our journey of Lent, let's focus on that simple phrase. When we wake up in the morning, when we go out to shopping, when we come to church, when we visit friends, "Your will be done." Oh, I got my list. Oh, I've got my needs. But before all of those, your will be done. So when someone shares his or her heart issues with you, whether they are about employment, health, unemployment, status of the employment community, status of the nation, people can share. But while they're sharing, I think all of us could say in response to them, maybe not verbally all the time, but definitely spiritually in prayer, "God, for all these intentions, your will be done." You're not going to fix them. I'm not going to fix them. Only God can fix them according to his holy will. Trust, trust, trust.